here we go. As promised, I'm going to call you out by name. May 31st, 2014. David Connors. So David Connors was the officer that should have been in charge. He left Mathew Braga to wait for Raphael Perez. Now, to give a better understanding of how it should have been done, I had received the death investigation policy that breaks it down. So basically, David Connors is supposed to be the dude in charge, right? Dude in charge. So that morning, I wasn't there. Anyway, I wasn't there first thing. And neighbors saw David Connors arrive and walk the hell out. Now, when he walked out, leaving Mathew Braga, and I believe Mathew Braga was pretty new to the force. Pretty new. Anyway, a neighbor, when they saw David Connors leave, they figured, he left. So another neighbor had well, let's just say that people were talking on the street. Not going to call the neighbors out. They're not part of the story. Only in the part of the neighbors across the street, mother and son, got into their vehicle and headed down to Dunkin' Donuts to get my mother a coffee, because they could just imagine what was going on in the house. So they get in their vehicle and they head down. Now, they had seen David Connors at the house. Now they see David Connors in the Dunkin' Donuts drive-thru. And automatically, they imagine that he's there in Dunkin' Donuts to get my mother a coffee, this elderly woman. So they see that he's in the drive-thru. They figure, okay, this must be what is happening. So they went back home. David Connors wasn't in the drive-thru to get my mother a coffee. Not that I expect anybody to go get my mother a coffee. No, David Connors was in the Dunkin' Donuts drive-thru to get himself a coffee and a donut that morning, leaving Mathew Braga to wait for Raphael Perez. David Connors didn't write not one word and didn't follow the death investigation policy that's written. It's written words in the policy. So Mathew Braga is left. He waits for Perez. Perez shows up. And he had a job to do. At some point, one of them, knowing the death investigation policy, should have called Major Crimes. Major Crimes shows up at every death. Every death. They show up. They do their job. They take witness statements. They do all those types of things to gather information. Raphael Perez was left to be in charge. So, Mathew Braga was there. He didn't say, oh, gee, we should be calling Major Crimes. Because in our policy, homicides, suicides, deaths like that, they have to come. No. He didn't say that. He didn't say that. He didn't follow the policy. And when Perez showed up, he didn't call either. So, most of the interaction that we had, if you can call it interaction, most of the voice that we heard was Raphael Perez. He was walking around talking about his biker club. His biker club. And we were a family, because I had arrived by then. Michael had gone to get me. We were a family, not knowing what the hell is going on. And he's acting like it's just another day for him. Just another day where he gets to entertain another officer with his knowledge of his biker club or his excitement over his biker club. Raphael Perez, knowing that there's no major crimes, you would have thought he would have gathered information. But he knew that his job was BCI. But he also knew somebody was missing. Mathew Braga, he knew. He knew somebody was missing. Did he call? No. Because why would they call when you have David Connors, who was on the force a lot longer, and he just leaves these two stooges to get it done? I'm not going to get into a lot of the I can at a different time, and I know that I have on another video got involved a little bit more with how offensive Raphael Perez was. He was pretty offensive. So the medical examiner's office comes. And because Raphael Perez obviously had called. And Raphael Perez had left a message saying that the grandmother had found her grandson and called 911. That's wrong. Raphael Perez also reported that morning to Robinson from the medical examiner's office that the family identified and that Joseph had left a note that he was coming out gay and distraught over his situation. And that's exactly the way it was relayed. And if that isn't the most offensive thing that you could read as a parent, Raphael Perez set the stage. He set the stage where there was going to be no question. There was going to be I don't know what he thought was going to happen from that day on, but he was sealing the deals so that there would be, he could just hang around with his buddy from the police department and just kind of make sure that when he left, that was going to be it. That was going to be it. So Raphael Perez never asked for a picture. He never asked if Joseph had a doctor. He didn't ask anything. He didn't ask anything. And the police report for some reason when it was I still can't to this day understand this. They purposely screwed it up. Joseph's white iPhone was listed as a black iPhone. None of our phone numbers were correct. They had put that Joseph was recently unemployed. Recently unemployed. That wasn't true. Braga put that Joseph did not feel normal. He didn't feel normal. I don't know where he got that. They put that my mother couldn't go up and down stairs. Well, that was ridiculous. She lived 6 years after Joseph passed away, going up and down stairs. Her bedroom was on the second floor. She even did laundry down in the basement. So I'm not sure where she had difficulty going up and down stairs. She most certainly did not. But they were just setting the stage and setting the stage. So Raphael Perez walked around saying inappropriate things and talking about his biker club. And every time he walked by or came anywhere near the living room, my mother shook. She wanted him out of the house. He was making her very nervous. Because I'm calling the names out here. David Connors and Mathew Braga, presently work in IA. I have not been able to put an IA complaint in years. When we get to court, we're going to have every call that was not returned from Lynn Farinelli to IA. And we will find out who told them that they don't have to take an IA complaint. Now, let's think about this for a minute. You have two people in IA that don't even know how to follow a policy, but they're going to fill out reports on other people not following policy. Does that make sense? You have Braga and Connors that don't know how to follow a policy, going to enforce policy and procedure on others and write them up. Makes no sense. I have video of me in the Pawtucket Police Department asking to speak to IA. I have video of me in City Hall knocking on the door, calling IA after being sent to IA by Carrie Hermansky. And they don't answer. This all goes to keeping people accountable. I had mentioned RIPAC. RIPAC is a joke, in case you didn't know. I don't know if it's, that you have to donate a certain amount of money or something like that to get accredited. But you definitely don't have to know your job to get accredited. And I actually have an email from Christine Crocker from RIPAC to Tina, letting her know, that Lynn Farinelli is looking for these IA investigations. And Tina turns around and tells Carrie Hermansky in an email to write something up. I have all those, Christine Crocker writing to Tina writing to Carrie writing back to Tina. I'll think about it. I'll do it over the weekend. I'll write it up. Yeah. so. And we can go back. Well, we could probably go back 3 years. It's been at least 3 years that I have not received a return call from IA. But I do have a phone conversation I had with Sean Driscoll, who used to work in IA. And he tells me that when he's gone, nobody's going to return the call if I call IA. A most recent, July 31st of last year, was one of the most recent times that Carrie Hermansky told me to get IA involved. And IA does not return the call. I'm guessing David Connors is still out for a coffee and a donut. That was pretty much that morning. I'm going to move on to, because there's no way for you to understand everything in one day. That was the one day. That was the first day. That was the first time I had probably had interaction with the Pawtucket Police Department in probably 25 years. Maybe 25 years. So, and I'm going to tell you, on that day, I couldn't have even told you who the mayor was. I couldn't have told you that. We were just living life. Didn't know. So, we'll continue on with putting the names out. But on this audio, let's call it David Connors, Mathew Braga, Raphael Perez, Pawtucket Police Department. Failures.